I live in a resort town in Wisconsin, and every summer, tourists flock here in droves. Our population increases a few times, and during this time, I like to do food apps like DoorDash to try and make a little extra money. I have to go out after my normal job is over, so sometimes I'm just getting food for a tired mom and delivering it to a hotel. But not this night. This night changed me in ways I'm not sure I can even convey. I remember it was a Tuesday, and I was sitting out in my car near the lake. It was lively enough, the windows down, a gentle breeze blowing through. My phone pinged, and it was for an order from a local Thai place. It was only one thing, a side of white rice. No meal, no drinks, no dessert, just some rice. That should have been my first warning sign, but I saw the $20 pop up on my dashing screen and said screw it, I need the money. I drove to the restaurant, only around the corner, and the hostess was as confused as I was. She said the kitchen staff looked around to see if another receipt would print out, but nothing, just the rice. I shrugged and took the tied white bag, gleefully leaving and walking towards my car, ready to cash in my $20 and probably call it a night. I verified the order and looked at the delivery instructions. It said to come to the door, that the person was disabled, and to hand it to them. I hit the directions towards the house. It was 7 miles away, in a small adjacent town nearby. There are a lot of these little townships and tiny path-through towns that all feed into my resort town, so it's no big deal. I deliver to these places all the time, and it's never an issue. As the drive went on, the sun set fully, darkness overcoming the horizon and clouding my vision. I remember sitting up in my car seat, turning onto a country back road. The house is becoming less and less frequent as thick trees began to flank me on either side and envelop me in. I can remember my phone screen glowing against my face, watching the light blue route twisting and turning through an area of town I've never even heard of, let alone visited or delivered to. I admit I started to feel a bit nervous, then I even considered canceling the job and driving off, but I was too afraid my rating would crash and DoorDash would cancel my account. The extra money was good, but not good enough for what happened next. I came into the final stretch, coming up to what looked like the final turn on my little map. It was a completely dark and desolate dirt road, with bumps and potholes, as if it hadn't been kept up with in years. I turned on my brights, driving slowly as my car bounced all around, all the while I winced at any damage that was going to happen. When I was finally met with a house, I remember feeling a pit in the back of my throat. The house was a little run down, with a fairly dimly lit light shining out through the front window. The house was blue, at least at one time, though algae or mildew or something crept its way up the siding. I couldn't believe people lived here, but I guess there's a lot of weird people in the backwoods of Wisconsin. I parked before looking at the screen again. I reread the instructions about coming to the door before wondering if I should ignore them, toss the bag out of the window, and drive off to never look back. I'm an idiot, I know, because I didn't do that. I kept the car running, the brights still on and shining into the front of the house, reflecting off of the walls inside. I didn't care if it was rude. The entire situation felt off. I grabbed my phone and slowly got out of the car, looking around before I closed the door. I couldn't see anything around me, the darkness almost blending in with the trees and creating this weird ultra darkness, if that's even a thing. It really messed with my eyes. There was no noise except crickets, the tattered grass and dirt patches in front of me kicking up as I walked towards the door, my pace shifting as if I couldn't decide whether to go quickly or not. I guess my fight or flight hadn't fully come in yet. "Hello? I have your order," I said aloud, hoping I was just being a coward and scared of my own shadow. I held my phone in my hand, it bugging me to complete the delivery steps, the dirt shuffling under my shoes as I moved closer to the front door. As I moved forward, I looked behind me, something feeling off, but it was impossible to see with my car's brights blinding me. If anybody was there, I wouldn't know about it. When I was about 10 feet from the front step, a figure appeared in the front window with something in its hand. I stopped in my tracks. I remember my breathing heavily increasing as I tried to quickly grapple with my fear. It was a man, maybe 6'2", his eyes wide and illuminated from my headlights. He moved swiftly towards a door, smacking open the screen door, some sort of hook in his hand, the same kind from some low-rent horror movie made in the 80s. I hopped back, my breath sharpening, before throwing the rice down and running towards the car. I could hear him running after me, but he wasn't making any sounds at all. All I remember hearing is the sound of his boots slapping against the dirt driveway. My fingers slipped on the door handle, my middle mill cracking and giving me a hangnail, before I opened the door and jumped inside. I hit the lock button just as he grabbed the handle, pushing his face against the glass. His skin was incredibly greasy, oily, and he had some sort of wart or growth or something down his cheek. He was bald, but had long stringy hair hanging down and back, his yellow teeth with the green bit stuck between the front two. I know it's weird that I remember that bit, but my brain just took a freeze frame when we were inches apart. "Don't you want your tip?" he asked in a deep voice, tapping the tip of the hook on my window. I put the car in reverse, the backup camera turning on, revealing another man, a figure standing about 10 feet behind my car. I had no clue how long he had been there, maybe the entire time just lurking in the shadows, watching me, waiting. I cranked the wheel and hit the gas, reversing into a circle, the two men running towards me before putting it in drive and screeching off. I didn't care about the bumps and potholes this time. I drove like I was about to be dead and got onto the main road, racing home and calling my parents along the way. I didn't live with them anymore, but they were only about 5 minutes away and I needed their help now more than ever. My dad called one of his cop friends and I'd met them both at the police station. The cops took my statement. I tried to offer as much detail as I could, but I was pretty shaking still. My dad later said I kept looking around, over my back, as if somebody was going to jump out and grab me. The cops went out there, getting there around an hour later, but there was nothing. The house was there, but there was no trace of any men. They even called the utility company the next morning because of the lights I saw on inside, but there was no trace of any utilities being on at that property in over a decade. The rice I tossed, not even a single grain on the ground, and the cops claimed that they checked. They contacted the app company in a last-ditch effort to see who made the order, but it wasn't there. The Thai restaurant remembered the weird order and verified it happened, but there was no trace of it digitally. I know that sounds fake, and I'm willing to be called a liar, but it's the truth. Some buddies of mine wanted to go all out there, 7 or 8 of us, but I declined. Maybe I'm a coward, I don't know, but some things aren't meant to be known. My advice to anybody who wants to do a food delivery app is to not take an order just because the money is good. I did, and almost lost everything because of it. If you're enjoying this video, please like, subscribe, and comment down below what you would do in these situations. I'm a tiny channel just starting out, and I'd appreciate any support you could give me. But now, into story number 2. What I'm about to tell you sounds insane. It doesn't even sound true, but it happened to me 3 years ago, and it was so bad I've been in therapy since a week after it happened. While I quit after this incident, I used to drive as a pizza delivery driver for a large gang-oriented pizza chain. The money was pretty decent, usually in the 20s per hour, and I was in my junior year of college, so I was able to save up a lot of money for tuition. I remember getting close to the end of my shift. I think it was around 10 at night, and we had an order come in to deliver a large pepperoni pizza to a house that was new to me, but the neighborhood wasn't. It was a normal area, suburban, but the houses were a bit older and on the smaller side. It was just off of the university's main campus. Sometimes I wait a few to see if a second order comes in so I can get them out at the same time. But by the time the kitchen staff made and boxed the pizza, nothing else had come in, so I had to leave to meet my delivery time requirement. When I pulled up to the house, it was pretty unassuming. Just a boring house on a quiet and boring street, but nothing that was about to happen was boring or uneventful. I kept the car running, pretty standard procedure, and grabbed the pizza from my warning bag in the trunk. I jogged up to the door, the porch light off and the wooden hangover canopy above blocking out the moonlight. The headlights on my car did some work, but it was still reasonably dark. I went to knock on the front door, but after the first hit of my fist against the wood, it opened up slowly. There was a creaking sound, one that still haunts my nightmares, and I was met with the inside of the customer's house. It was old looking, like it hadn't been renovated in decades, and the only light that was on was in the hallway off to the right. "I have a pizza delivery for Jason?" I shouted from the front door. I heard a voice call back to me, but it was faint. They asked for help and sounded like they were in distress. I hesitated for a second before walking inside. Normally, I'm not allowed to go into a customer's home, but my boss would be pissed if he found out someone was hurt, called out for me, and I ignored them and left. I set the pizza down on the coffee table in the living room before walking towards the hallway. "Are you here?" I asked. "The last door. It's open. I fell and can't get up. Can you help me?" The voice called back. I could hear a woman, an older sounding woman, calling for help. Something in me tightened up as I walked sort of sideways down the hallway, my back to the wall as I got closer to the open bedroom door. I could see a light on inside, maybe from a bedside lamp, but it wasn't all that bright. I put my fingertips against the door and opened it, a long and drawn-out creak happening as I did. There was a bed with messed-up covers, and I walked around it to find the old woman in distress. I creeped around slowly before getting to the other side and looking down. Nothing. Nobody. Not even a little bit. Suddenly, the door slammed shut, then I was met with a man standing there staring at me. He was looking down at the ground, a smile appearing on his face slowly, before he raised his head and looked up at me. I struggled typing this right now, reliving it, as I remember the unhinged look on his face. His eyes were dead, like nothing was behind them, before he pulled his other hand from behind himself and exposed a long chef's knife. "Please don't do this," I said, stepping back against the wall. He talked about the voices, how they asked him to sacrifice me just like the woman, and how he needed to be good to them or they would kill him. He had to kill me to save himself. He lunged forward onto the bed, but his foot must have missed the mattress or something when he fell forward and slowly slipped out the side of the bed. As he lunged, I dodged right, running towards the door, opening it and slamming it right behind me. I raced towards my car, the steaming box of pizza on the table as I sprinted fast, hearing the bedroom door open behind me. My heart was racing. I thought I could throw up at any second, but I managed to fling shut the front door on my way out. My car was still sat there, still idling, the lights illuminating the maniac as I got in and peeled backwards in reverse. He yelled at me, yelled something about meeting me, almost as if he were begging me not to leave so he could take me. I'm not scared to admit I began to cry, driving away, my hands shaking on the wheel as I looked in my rearview mirror and saw him running down the street after me, though it was all for nothing. I called 911, probably sounding belligerent, but they took me seriously because I told them that I worked at the pizza place. It broke all over the news, and the police ended up finding the body of a deceased woman in the home. They found her cut up in the bathtub, and the coroner said it was a long, sharp knife that would have done it. I held out hope they would find the man, but nothing. As far as I know, and I moved out of there and transferred school soon after, they never found out who did all of this. He might still be out there, and even though I live on the other side of the country now, I'm still paranoid he'll somehow find me. It sounds horrible, but the moral of the story for me is not to help people. It's better to call the cops and let them deal with someone in distress than to enter a stranger's house and have them ruin the rest of your life, mentally and emotionally ruined.